Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 62 of B-Road Ballers, the review series for Gran Turismo's primarily hot hatch selection, with some vehicles that aren't necessarily hot hatches, but are just hatches with performance potential. In effect, sleeper hatches. And this is definitely one of those. It's not a hot hatch in any sense, it flies completely below the radar. And although some people do find the car fun and kind of ironic to drive fast, it's not exactly anyone's first choice as far as high-performance hatchbacks go. And the vehicle is the Ford Ka, or KA. This is a super small hatchback. It's built by Ford's European division, and it's just a basic everyday car. It's not designed to be a Ford GT or a Ford RS or a Ford ST. It's just a small city runabout that gets the job done for a reasonable price. Now on the game, that reasonable price is still there because this car costs just under 13 grand, making it one of the cheapest cars in the game. Now as far as what you get for that price, you actually get more than you might assume, because this car has a 1.3 turbo engine, it's front-wheel drive, which is pretty predictable really, and it puts out some surprisingly good numbers. For a start, there's the power. 248 horsepower fully tuned is not bad at all for such a small engine, but what's even more impressive is actually the torque, because this car puts out more torque than power. And for a 1.3 turbo engine, the amount of torque that this car has is seriously good. 262 foot-pounds is a lot of torque for such a small capacity engine. Now the car is, as you would assume, lightweight. It's not as light as some K cars or vehicles like that, but 843 kilos certainly isn't over the top. The horsepower per tonne is pretty decent, 294, due to the fact that although the power isn't ridiculously high, the weight is low enough to compensate for that. Now the PP in its fully tuned form I would say is just about perfect. 474 PP makes this car very PP relevant. Obviously it naturally sits at the 475 PP competition level, and you can detune it effectively to even lower levels, 450, 425, 400 or even lower if you wanted to. So overall for 13 grand, although it's not necessarily a looker, an eye-catching car, a high-performance car in its standard form, the potential that the Ford car has is pretty impressive. The question is, can it turn that impressive spec sheet into actual usable performance, and even more importantly again, is it competitive for the money? Well, in terms of what it's capable of, in a straight line it's not going to worry something like a Focus anytime soon. The acceleration is decent enough, the top end performance is okay, but it's really all about the cornering. As you'd assume, the handling is very good, and I would say that this car is another one of those vehicles which I really like the handling of for a very specific reason, and it's a reason which is difficult to explain if you haven't driven the car, and that is there are some vehicles on Gran Turismo which have an intangible quality to their handling. It's something that goes beyond just being a good handling car. There are plenty of vehicles that have good handling. Mitsubishi Evos, Subaru Imprezas, Nissan Skylines, they all have very good handling. But not necessarily all of those good handling cars are fun. Some of them feel very clinical in their approach. They're not designed to have passion or charisma or even an attitude, they're just designed to be a machine that gets the job done. Now of course any car is a machine, but some cars manage to actually have a personality behind that. And this car does, primarily with regard to the handling, the drivability, the manners that the car displays in its cornering. It's a fun car to drive. The car has a ton of personality. It just feels like the car itself is having fun when you drive it, and that is, as I said, kind of an untangible thing. You either feel that or you don't, but to me this car definitely has that factor. It's extremely fun to drive around corners, more so in fact than in a straight line, and its competitive range, I would say, is pretty good. It's not the kind of car that will beat everything you come across, even within its PP level, but under the right circumstances, such as on tracks that don't really necessitate top-end power, but require more pure handling or average speeds, for instance, this car is good for that, especially considering that it does only cost 13,000 credits. It is also something of a sleeper. This is, as far as sleepers go, one of the better known ones. People do kind of know that this can be a quick car, so it's not as much of a sleeper as something like an understated Citroën or a Renault, but nonetheless it can shock people by just how good this car can be. The fun factor, I would say, is the best point of this car. The weakest point is its straight line performance, but that goes without saying really. For its PP level, it does the job, and it has potential. So although I wouldn't say this is a car for everyone, because not all people do lower end PP racing, some people don't like driving slower cars in racing, but for those who do enjoy those kind of things, and also of course sleeper cars, then the Ford car is a pretty good option. Not the best necessarily, but a good one nonetheless. But that's it overall for this particular pick. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.